Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. The morning sky hung heavy with clouds, a thick gray curtain stretching across the city like a warning. Zainab glanced out the window of her office, watching the drops tap against the glass like impatient fingers. Her phone buzzed just as she was about to take another sip of her lukewarm tea. Message from school. Sua forgot her lunchbox. Please bring it before 11 a.m. Thank you. Zainab groaned. Again? She grabbed her bag and keys, told her manager she'd be back shortly, and dashed to the parking lot, hoping to beat the downpour. As she started the engine, the first few raindrops hit the windshield. Within minutes, the sky opened up, releasing a downpour that blurred the world into smudges of gray and green. She made it to Sua's school just in time. The receptionist smiled sympathetically as Zainab handed over the cartoon-themed lunchbox. Back in the car, she sat for a moment, debating whether to return to work or take a breather. Her head throbbed from the stress of deadlines, home, and the cold silence that had recently crept into her marriage. Her phone buzzed again, this time a calendar reminder. Saada's birthday in 2 weeks. She smiled faintly. Saad. Her best friend since university. The one who'd held her hand through childbirth. The one who brought pepper soup when she lost her second pregnancy. The one person who had never judged her. They hadn't seen each other in weeks, and Zainab suddenly missed her warmth. On impulse she called. No answer. Saada's probably still asleep, she muttered, laughing softly. Lazy goat. But something pulled her in that direction anyway. Saad lived only 10 minutes away. Zainab decided to surprise her. She turned the ignition. The car coughed. Then died. No, don't do this, she groaned, banging the steering wheel. Rain pounded harder. People hurried past, umbrellas tilting. With no time to waste, she hailed a passing bike, holding her bag over her head. She hated taking Okadas, but she was too soaked to care. The ride was short but chaotic. Her blouse clung to her back, her bra strap digging in as the cold seeped into her bones. By the time they arrived at Saada's gate, Zainab was drenched. The gate was slightly ajar. She frowned. Saad always locks this thing. She rang the bell. No response. Knocked. Still nothing. She pushed the gate open and stepped into the compound, her shoes squishing in the puddles. Saad? She called out. It's me, oh. Zai. No answer. She approached the front door. Unlocked. Weird. Inside it was quiet except for a faint humming. A man's voice. Her stomach tightened. She took a step inside. The tiles were damp, freshly used. She heard the shower running. The voice hummed again, light, familiar, painfully familiar. Then, before her eyes could accept what her ears already knew, Damalola, her husband, walked out of the bathroom. Shirtless. Soaking wet. Towel wrapped low around his waist. His eyes met hers. Time stopped. Zainab's bag dropped from her hand and hit the floor with a soft thud. Zai, he stammered, frozen. Behind him, another door creaked. Saad emerged. Wrapped in a robe. Hair damp. Her face drained of color. Zainab's world tilted. She stumbled backward. Zai, wait. Saad rushed forward. Zainab turned and bolted out the door. The rain welcomed her with violent force, drenching what was already soaked. She didn't stop running. Not when Saada's voice called out. Not when the wind slapped her face. Not even when her knees buckled and she had to grip a lamppost to stay standing. People stared, but no one approached. She was a woman unraveling in real time, soaked, stunned, and shattered. The rain sounded louder inside Zainab's head than it did on the ground. Her heels clacked against wet concrete as she ran, arms wrapped around herself, bag forgotten at the gate. She didn't know where she was going, she just needed to get far away. Her lungs burned with betrayal. The humming. The towel. Saada's robe. She turned a corner and stopped, resting against a tree. Her breaths came out in gasps, mixing with the rain. Tears were already flowing, hot, angry, confused. Oh, how could Saad do this? How could he? The man she defended in front of her mother. The one she covered for when bills were unpaid. The one who swore she was the only woman he could ever love. She wanted to scream. But instead, she wiped her face, pulled her phone from her wet purse and called an Uber. Back at home, Zainab walked in like a ghost. Sua was at school, the house quiet. She peeled off her clothes slowly, like shedding a second skin. The mirror caught her reflection, ruined mascara, soaked hair, hollow eyes. She didn't cry again. Instead she showered. And sat. In silence. When night came she cooked dinner out of habit. She didn't taste a thing. At 9:42 p.m. the door opened. She didn't move. "Zai," Damilola called softly. "Please let's talk." She remained seated at the dining table, arms crossed. He took cautious steps toward her, his voice lower than she'd ever heard. "It wasn't supposed to happen like that. I didn't plan it." She looked up slowly, eyes cold. "But it happened." He nodded. "Yes." Zainab stood, walked past him, straight to the guest room, and locked the door. Zainab woke before dawn. Her chest was tight, her mouth dry. The bed beside her was empty, not because Damilola wasn't there, but because the love that used to fill it was gone. She stared at the ceiling, memories playing like a cruel film reel, Saad laughing beside her at the wedding, Damilola holding her hand during labor, Saad kneeling with her, praying during her miscarriage. It all felt like a lie now. The betrayal from both ends burned like acid. Her best friend and her husband, the two people she trusted the most. A soft knock on the door broke the silence. "Zai, please," Damilola said. She didn't answer. When he left, she got up and tiptoed to the master bedroom. She took her phone and deleted every photo of the three of them. Wedding albums, birthday dinners, even the picture of Saad holding Sua at the hospital. Her thumb hovered over one image, their last Christmas photo. Delete. She opened WhatsApp. Messages flooded in from the support group at church, her boss, old university friends. But none from Saad. Until now. A voice note. Zainab hesitated, and pressed play. "Zai, I don't know how to even begin. I'm sorry. I swear to God I never meant to hurt you." She deleted it before it ended. She didn't want apologies. She wanted answers. But more than that, she wanted the pain to stop. Zainab dressed in a simple black gown and left the house before anyone else woke up. Her phone buzzed as she walked. Damilola was calling. Decline. She needed air, space, anything but him. A slight drizzle had started, softer than yesterday. She walked until her feet hurt, mind running wild. How long had it been going on? Did they laugh behind her back? Did Saad tell him her secrets? Her fears? She ended up in a small park near their old apartment, the one they lived in before Damilola's promotion. She sat on a bench, arms folded tight. Children played nearby. A couple passed, holding hands. Zainab closed her eyes. She remembered the night she introduced Damilola to Saad. "You'll love her, she's my soul sister," she'd said. That night, Saad wore yellow. Damilola had smiled too long at her. Why didn't she see it? Why didn't she feel it? Her stomach turned. She dialed a number. It rang once, twice. "Hello," a familiar voice answered. It was her younger sister, Aminat. Zainab choked. "Ami? What's wrong?" Zainab couldn't speak. She just cried. "I'm coming," Aminat said. "Send me your location now." Zainab hung up and wiped her eyes, trying to steady her breath. But no matter how hard she tried, the pain wouldn't leave. It clung to her like the rain, soft but constant. By the time Zainab returned home, Aminat was already waiting on the porch, arms crossed, face drawn in concern. "What happened?" she asked. Zainab didn't answer. They went inside. Damilola stood in the living room looking sheepish. The moment he saw Aminat, he tensed. "Good morning," he said. "Save it," Aminat snapped. Zainab sank into the couch like a balloon deflating. Her voice cracked. "He and Saad." Aminat gasped, one hand flying to her mouth. "Wait, what?" Zainab nodded slowly. "Yesterday. I saw it with my own eyes." Aminat turned to Damilola. "You sick bastard. After everything she's done for you?" Damilola didn't defend himself. His shoulders drooped. "It wasn't planned." You think that makes it better? You slept with her best friend, Dami?" "I was lonely." Zainab stood suddenly. "Enough." The room froze. "I don't want yelling in front of Sua," she said quietly. "This house is not a battleground." They fell silent. Damilola tried to reach for her, but she stepped back. "You'll sleep in the guest room," she said coldly. "Indefinitely." That night, as Zainab tucked Sua in, her daughter looked up at her with wide eyes. "Mummy, why didn't Daddy kiss you good night?" Zainab's throat tightened. "Daddy's just sleeping somewhere else tonight, okay?" Sua nodded sleepily. "I hope you're not fighting. I don't like it when people fight." Zainab kissed her forehead. "Me neither, baby." As she turned off the lights, she whispered to herself, "But some fights can't be avoided." The next morning, Zainab awoke to her phone vibrating beside her pillow. She groaned, stretched a little and turned it over. 18 unread messages. Most were from unknown numbers, whispers of gossip already spreading. But one name stopped her breath. Saad. She clicked. Zai, please. Please talk to me. It wasn't what you think. I didn't plan this. We were both broken. I made a mistake. I hate myself right now. Zainab stared at the screen, her jaw clenched. She remembered the night she cried into Saada's lap after her miscarriage. Saad had whispered, "You are the strongest woman I know." Was that all a performance? A final message popped up. Can we talk? I'll come wherever you want. Zainab tossed the phone aside. A knock at her door startled her. Zai. Aminat peeked in. You okay? Zainab exhaled. No. Good. Because if you said yes, I'd know you were lying. Zainab half smiled. Aminat sat beside her. I read her messages, Zainab muttered. Aminat rolled her eyes. Of course she's sorry she got caught. So, I keep wondering if I should listen. Zai, she crossed a line you can't uncross. And Damilola? He was your husband. Your pain became their excuse. Zainab nodded slowly. But deep down she still wasn't sure what she wanted. Closure? Revenge? Or just silence? Zainab sat in the kitchen later that evening watching the kettle boil. The rising steam reminded her of her mother's small flat back in Ilorin. That kitchen was always warm. Always full of peace. She reached for her phone. Saad had sent a new message. This one longer. A note. She hovered over it. Her fingers trembled. No, she pressed delete without reading. Some truths didn't deserve a stage. And some apologies weren't owed the dignity of being heard. Later, as she folded laundry, her mind kept replaying questions. Did they start after my miscarriage? Did they laugh about me? The worst part? She knew Saad knew everything, every insecurity, every fear, every soft spot. She had weaponized Zainab's pain. And that, more than anything, was what burned. That night, Damilola knocked. Zai, please. We need to talk. She opened the door halfway. I'm not ready to hear you, she said flatly. He looked down. I'll wait. You'll wait forever if you keep knocking like that, she replied. And closed it again. By Sunday afternoon the whole family knew. Zainab hadn't said a word, but someone had. Maybe Saad, maybe even Damilola himself. Her phone lit up with calls from her aunties, cousins, and even Damilola's younger brother. Her mother called and said, Zainab, I heard. Are you okay, my child? Zainab choked on her tears. No, Mama. Her mother whispered a prayer under her breath. Then Aminat arrived with food, fury, and fire. You need to drag both of them, she said, dumping a hot bowl of jollof on the counter. You can't just sit here looking pretty and hurt. What do you want me to do? Fight in public? Yes. Aminat flared. Why protect their reputation when they destroyed yours? Zainab shook her head. I'm not ready. Well, get ready. Because this thing is spreading. Zainab sighed. She didn't care who knew. But the humiliation was still fresh, the shame unbearable. Later that evening, while folding Sua's clothes, Zainab caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. She didn't recognize the woman looking back. Puffy eyes, tired skin, hollow heart. The betrayal had stolen her reflection. She clenched her fists. She needed to reclaim it. 3 days later, Zainab sent a message. Tomorrow. 5 p.m., Café Juniper. Saad responded within minutes. I'll be there. Thank you, Zai. Zainab dressed in black trousers and a deep green blouse. Her braids were tied up neatly. No makeup, just bold lips and eyes that had seen enough. At the cafe, Saad was already seated. She stood up the moment Zainab entered. Zai. Sit. Zainab took the seat opposite her, spine straight, voice cold. Saad began, eyes brimming. I know there's nothing I can say that makes it right, but I need you to hear me. Zainab nodded once. Talk. I never meant to betray you. It wasn't planned. I was lonely. He was broken. We started talking more, after you stopped coming around. Zainab didn't blink. So you took what I told you, and used it to crawl into his bed? No. Saad cried. Zai, I swear. But you did. Saad sobbed. I missed you. And he made me feel seen. It wasn't love. It was weakness. Zainab's voice dropped. And yet you kept doing it. Saad reached across the table. Zainab pulled her hand back. You didn't just sleep with my husband. You murdered our history. A beat of silence passed between them. Is it still happening? Zainab asked. No, Saad whispered. I ended it the day you saw us. Zainab stood up. I ended it that day too. You, me, everything. She walked out and didn't look back. That evening Damalola knocked again. This time, Zainab opened the door and stepped aside. Talk. He entered slowly, hands in pockets. I never wanted to hurt you. Zainab folded her arms. But you did. I was drowning. After your miscarriage you shut down. You wouldn't let me in. So you ran to my best friend? He winced. I didn't plan for it. But she was there and I was weak. Stop calling it weakness. It was betrayal. Say it. He swallowed. I betrayed you. She nodded. Better. He sat down on the couch. I hated myself for it. Every time we kissed goodnight I felt like a fraud. But you kept drifting away. I didn't know how to bring you back. So you went elsewhere. Zai. No, she held up a hand. You lost me the day you touched her. I would have forgiven 1,000 things, Dammy. But not this. He dropped his head into his hands. I still love you. She laughed, dry and bitter. No. You loved yourself. And your ego. He looked up. What do I do? Zainab pointed to the guest room. Sleep there. Don't speak to me unless it's about Sua. And us. There is no us anymore. There's only what's left of me. And that was the end of the conversation. Monday morning was quiet. The clinking of cereal bowls and the soft footsteps of Sua filled the silence between Zainab and Damalola like an invisible wall. He sat at one end of the table. Zainab at the other. The distance between them had never felt more real. Sua, ever observant, looked between them. Mummy, why didn't Daddy kiss you good morning today? Zainab froze, spoon halfway to her lips. Damalola looked down at his tea. Zainab forced a smile. Daddy had a long night, sweetie. He's just tired. Sua tilted her head. But he always kisses you. And you always smile. Zainab felt something pierce her heart. She reached across the table to tuck a curl behind her daughter's ear. Some days are just different, baby. Sua nodded, but her eyes didn't lie. She knew something was wrong. Later that day, while packing Sua's lunch, Zainab stared at the small heart-shaped note she always added. Today, her hands trembled as she wrote it. You're my sunshine. Always. Her eyes filled with tears. This little girl deserved more than half-truths and broken dinners. She deserved peace. And right now, Zainab couldn't give her that, not while the man who shattered their home still shared the roof. Zainab was in the living room folding laundry when she heard a knock. She opened the door to find her mother-in-law, Mama Ade, standing proudly in traditional Iro and Buba, lips pursed with disapproval. Mama? My daughter, Mama Ade said curtly, stepping in without invitation. We need to talk. Zainab gestured for her to sit, even though her stomach turned. Damalola must have run to her for help. I heard what happened, Mama Ade began. And I'm disappointed. Zainab braced herself for comfort. But Mama Ade's next words sliced through the air. Disappointed that you are making noise about it? He's your husband. Menstruate. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Zainab blinked, stunned. Excuse me? You're a wife. A mother. You don't throw everything away over one mistake. One mistake, Zainab said slowly. He cheated with my best friend. Mama Ade shrugged. He still comes home to you. He feeds you and your child. That is what matters. Zainab stood. Mama, I appreciate your visit. But I'm not your generation. You girls don't know how to keep a home. No, Mama. We know how not to keep pain. Mama Ade stood as well. You will regret this pride. Zainab opened the door. Better that than regret losing myself. And with that, she shut the door, on old ideologies and on Mama Ade. Zainab sat at her desk in the office, eyes glued to the screen but mind elsewhere. Her inbox overflowed and her to-do list grew by the hour, but she welcomed it. Work became her escape. She took on extra reports, volunteered to coordinate a team meeting, and stayed behind after everyone left. It was the only place she didn't have to face Damalola's presence or Sua's innocent questions. Her boss, Mr. Ojo, noticed. Zainab, he said one evening, pausing by her desk. You've been working like two people this past week. She smiled weakly. Trying to stay productive. He nodded, but his eyes softened. If you ever need time off or someone to talk to, I've been there. Divorce. It's a storm, but it passes. Zainab looked up. I'm not there yet. You don't need to be. But don't burn yourself out trying to outrun your pain. It has a way of catching up. That night, she went home late, long after Sua had slept. Damalola was watching a movie in the living room. She ignored him and went straight to her room. Inside, she opened her journal. I feel like I'm crumbling from the inside, but I wear strength like perfume, thick and convincing. Then she closed it and stared at the ceiling. Sleep never came. The next morning at work, Zainab's colleague Funmi approached her in the break room. Hey, Funmi said, holding 2 mugs. One for you. Chamomile. Zainab smiled politely. Thanks. They sat in silence for a moment. I saw your post last year, the miscarriage, Funmi said gently. I had one too. 2 years ago. Zainab blinked. It broke my marriage, Funmi added. My husband left. Said I changed. I'm sorry. Funmi shrugged. I started going to this support group. Mostly women. Some divorced. Some still fighting. All of them hurt. Zainab sipped slowly. Support group? Meet Saturday mornings. No pressure. But, you might like it. Zainab hesitated. That night, after tucking Sua in, she stared at the card Funmi had slipped her. Rising Women's Circle, healing starts here. Saturday came and Zainab showed up. Not knowing what to expect, she slipped quietly into the room. 12 women sat in a circle. One by one they shared. A woman who forgave her cheating husband and still left. A mother of 3 rebuilding after 20 years of silence. A widow who found love again. And then Zainab spoke. My best friend slept with my husband, she said softly. And I can't decide who hurt me more. Silence. Then a woman reached out and touched her hand. We've all bled somewhere, sister. Now it's time to heal. Zainab felt lighter after the meeting. Like someone had removed a rock from her chest. She even laughed with Sua during breakfast the next day, the first real laugh in weeks. But peace has a way of testing its foundation. Later that week, while at work, Zainab checked her home security app. She had installed a small motion camera in the living room, mostly to ensure Sua's safety when home with the nanny. She tapped the feed. Paused. Rewound. Her hands began to shake. There, on the screen, Damilola was unlocking the front door. And behind him, Saad. Zainab's mouth dried. She watched in frozen horror as they sat on the couch. Saad leaned in. Damilola touched her hand. The timestamp read 2:37 p.m., the same time Zainab was at a client meeting. So the affair hadn't ended. The lies had just gotten smarter. Zainab didn't cry this time. She downloaded the footage, transferred it to a secure folder, and made 2 backup copies. Then she picked up her phone. Not to call Saad. Not to scream at Damilola. But to dial her lawyer. Hello, she said calmly. I need to schedule an appointment. It's time. Zainab sat across from her lawyer, Mrs. Aluko, a sharp, no-nonsense woman in her late 50s with glasses perched permanently at the edge of her nose. He brought her into the house? Mrs. Aluko asked after reviewing the security footage. Zainab nodded. While our daughter was at school. While I was at work. Aluko shook her head. The court won't take that lightly. Zainab folded her hands in her lap. I don't want drama. I just want my peace. Custody of my child. And a clean break. Aluko tapped her pen. We'll file a separation notice. If he contests it, we'll push for divorce. From what I see here, you have leverage. A part of Zainab had hoped Damilola would fight back, make it easier to hate him. But when she got home that evening and handed him the letter, he didn't shout. He didn't even ask why. He just stared at the envelope, lips trembling. Is this really it? He asked, voice low. Zainab met his eyes without flinching. It was over the day you made me question my sanity. This is just the paperwork. I made a mistake, Zai. No. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. You built a second relationship in my absence. He sighed, sinking into the couch. What about Sua? She will be fine. As long as we keep her out of the chaos. He ran a hand over his face. I thought we could fix this. I already did, she said, walking away. By letting you go. The next morning, Zainab received a text message from an unfamiliar number. Please? I need to speak with you. It's urgent. Joseph. She ignored it. Then came another. I'm Sada's fiancé. Zainab's fingers froze. Her chest tightened. She called the number. Joseph's voice was calm but heavy. I know we've never met, but I've been engaged to Saad for over a year. I found your number on her laptop. I saw the footage you sent. Zainab's eyes widened. I didn't send anything. He paused. Someone forwarded it to me anonymously. I just needed to hear your voice before I make decisions that can't be undone. Zainab's voice lowered. What are you going to do? I already did it. I ended things this morning. Zainab closed her eyes. She swore she loved me, Joseph said. But now, I don't even know if I know her. I thought I did too. I'm sorry you went through that. She's not who I thought she was. Zainab exhaled. Thank you for telling me. After the call, her phone buzzed again. Saad. Zai. He left. He's gone. Did you tell him? Zainab stared at the message for a long time before typing. No. You did that all by yourself. She pressed send. Saad called. Zainab declined. She called again. Declined. By the fifth call, Zainab blocked her. Let the silence serve as closure. Zainab packed the last of the moving boxes while Sua sat cross-legged on the floor, coloring a picture of a smiling sun. Their new apartment wasn't as big as the one they had shared with Damilola, 2 bedrooms, modest kitchen, soft blue walls, but it smelled like new beginnings. Mummy, are we poor now? Sua asked suddenly. Zainab paused mid-fold. Why do you ask that, baby? Because the old house had a big TV. And Daddy's room. And the fancy fridge. Zainab walked over and knelt beside her. We're not poor, sweetheart. We just moved to a quieter place. Where you and I can be happy without shouting. Sua smiled. Will Daddy come visit? Yes, Zainab said carefully. You'll still see him. But this is our home now. Sua nodded. Can we paint my room pink? Pink and purple, Zainab replied, grinning. They spent the afternoon painting, laughing, and dancing barefoot on plastic sheets. For the first time in weeks, Zainab's laughter wasn't wrapped in bitterness. That night, as she lay in bed, she opened her journal again. The pain is still there, but it's quieter now. Like a wound scabbing over. I don't know where I'm going yet, but I know I'm not going back. She closed the book and looked at her daughter sleeping beside her, cheeks puffed, lips parted. They were going to be okay. Not because someone said so, but because Zainab had finally chosen herself. The morning sun was gentle, casting soft golden light through the curtains of Zainab's new apartment. The silence was no longer heavy, it was peaceful. Sua had gone to spend the weekend with her father, and Zainab relished the stillness like a warm bath. She was halfway through a cup of lemon tea and a book when a knock echoed from the front door. She wasn't expecting anyone. Cautiously, she stood and tiptoed toward the peephole. Damilola. He stood there, bouquet in one hand, a worn leather folder in the other. His eyes were puffy, his shirt slightly rumpled. He looked smaller than she remembered, not physically but somehow diminished, like a man who had watched something precious slip through his fingers. Zainab didn't open the door right away. She considered ignoring him. But something told her this moment needed to happen. She opened the door just enough for them to see each other. Hi, he said quietly. Her expression was calm but unreadable. What are you doing here? He offered the flowers forward. These are for you. She didn't take them. I don't want flowers, Damilola. He nodded, withdrawing his hand. I don't even know where to start. Then maybe you shouldn't have come. I had to see you. I thought I could drop off the custody documents and maybe talk. Zainab raised an eyebrow. Talk? Or beg? His face tightened. Zai, please. She opened the door fully and stepped outside, shutting it behind her. I don't want Sua hearing anything. Damilola exhaled, clearly nervous. I've been thinking a lot. You should. You had plenty of time to do that before bringing Saad back into our home. He looked down at the ground. I know. I was a fool. I lost myself. I ruined everything. Zainab folded her arms. You didn't ruin everything, Dami. You ruined us. There's a difference. He looked up, tears now swelling in his eyes. You're right. And I hate myself for it. Silence stretched between them. I come home now and it's quiet, he said, voice breaking. I keep expecting to hear your voice in the kitchen. Or Sua giggling. But all I get is silence. Zainab watched him, unmoved. That silence is your doing. He nodded, defeated. The apartment is colder without you. Not just physically. I mean, everything's different. I wake up and I don't even want to get out of bed. Good, she said, softly but firmly. Because that's what it feels like to have your spirit broken. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I didn't come here to beg for a second chance. I know I don't deserve it. But I came to tell you that you didn't deserve what I did. None of it. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away. I never stopped loving you, he whispered. Zainab smiled faintly. You say that like it's a good thing. Love doesn't hurt like this, Dami. It doesn't humiliate. It doesn't lie. And it sure as hell doesn't crawl into bed with your best friend. He cringed. I was weak. No. You were selfish. He nodded again, silent. She took a step back toward the door. Sua's doing well. She misses you. But I'll never let her think what you did is okay. I understand. I'll co-parent. I'll be civil. But that's it. He reached into his folder and handed her a document, notarized custody arrangement papers, already signed. She'll live with you. Weekends with me. School decisions, we can share. I won't fight it. Zainab looked down at the paper, surprised. Why now? Because I finally realized I lost you the day I stopped respecting you. And now, I'm just trying to do right by the only person who ever truly believed in me. She nodded slowly. It's too late for us. But it's not too late to be a better father. I'll try, he whispered. Zainab reached for the door handle. He looked at her one last time, desperate. Is there really no hope? She tilted her head. Hope died the day I stood in Sada's hallway and saw you dripping wet from a shower you didn't take in our home. That sentence sank like a knife. She opened the door. Damilola took one small step forward, hopeful. But Zainab looked at him, expression serene but firm, and said, No one is home for you here anymore. And with that she closed the door gently. Not in anger, but in finality. The auditorium buzzed with gentle murmurs, the sound of soft heels on tiled floors and programs rustling in elegant handbags. The stage bore a gold banner. Rising Women's Circle, Healing, Hope, Her. Rows of women filled the seats, some in sleek suits, others in flowing dresses, others still wrapped in vibrant ankara, their heads held high. Each face carried its own story of pain and power. Backstage, Zainab adjusted her microphone headset, hands trembling slightly. She glanced at her reflection one last time. Gone was the woman who once cried herself to sleep in guest rooms and behind locked doors. Now she saw strength. Poise. A survivor. Ready? Fund me, her colleague turned friend asked gently. Zainab smiled. As I'll ever be. She stepped out to applause that felt like a warm blanket. Not because they knew her, but because they recognized her. Because her journey was theirs too. She approached the podium and took a breath. Good afternoon, she began. My name is Zainab Iola. I'm a mother, a project manager, and a woman who once lost herself. A quiet settled over the crowd. A year ago I thought I had everything. A family. A home. A best friend who doubled as a sister. But life doesn't always break loudly. Sometimes, it crumbles in whispers, until the silence becomes deafening. She paused, eyes scanning the audience. I walked into a house I knew. A friendship I trusted. A marriage I believed in. And what I found was betrayal. Not just by my husband, but by the friend who knew every piece of my heart. A few women nodded, lips pursed. Others lowered their eyes, blinking away memories. I won't lie to you. I broke. I fell apart. I doubted myself. I screamed in silence. I laughed in meetings but cried in traffic. I felt like the air had been sucked out of my world. But pain, as cruel as it is, sometimes clears the way for power. Applause rippled softly. I stayed for a while. I told myself it was for my daughter. For the sake of appearances. For peace. But it wasn't peace I was preserving, it was shame. She stepped away from the podium and walked slowly across the stage. It took me weeks to realize something powerful. I didn't have to be anyone's doormat just because I was someone's wife. I didn't have to protect the people who shattered me. Murmurs of agreement hummed. I moved out. Started fresh. Not because I stopped loving my family, but because I started loving myself more. At that moment, her eyes landed on the front row. Sua, in a pink floral dress and beaded hair, smiled proudly, her feet dangling from the seat. Zainab's voice caught for a second. This little girl, she said, pointing gently, watched me rise every morning. I wanted to stay buried in blankets. She held my hand when my voice failed. And now, I stand here because I want her to grow up knowing that strength isn't loud, it's consistent. The audience applauded louder. She once asked me why Daddy didn't kiss me goodnight. And I didn't have an answer then. But now I do. She returned to the podium. I told her, because sometimes, Mummy needs to love herself more than she needs to be loved by someone else. And that, ladies, changed everything. Tears shimmered in eyes around the room. I don't know where you are in your journey. Maybe you're still crying behind closed doors. Maybe you're rebuilding. Maybe you haven't spoken your truth out loud yet. Zainab raised her chin. But I want you to know, you're not broken. You're becoming. You're not weak, you're recovering. And you're not lost, you're on your way home to yourself. A standing ovation erupted. Women clapped, some weeping, some cheering. Zainab took a step back and smiled as Sua rushed toward the stage, arms wide. Mummy? Zainab crouched and scooped her up into her arms. Did I do okay? Sua nodded enthusiastically. You were the best. Better than all the princesses. Zainab laughed, pressing a kiss to her cheek. I'm proud of you, the little girl whispered. Zainab whispered back, I'm proud of us. As the event wound down, women lined up to hug her, thank her, share their own scars and triumphs. It didn't feel overwhelming. Felt right. By the end of the evening, Zainab stood by the exit doors, shoes in hand, her head high. The night air was crisp, fresh. Funmi walked up beside her, handing her a chilled drink. You lit the room on fire. Zainab smiled. Not fire. Just truth. Same thing really? They laughed. Suddenly Zainab's phone buzzed. A text from Damilola. Saw a clip of your talk online. You look free. I hope you're happy. She stared at it for a long moment. Then typed, I am. And pressed send. No anger. No revenge. Just truth. She slipped the phone into her bag and turned to Funmi. Ready for dinner? Funmi nodded. Let's go. As they walked toward the car, Sua skipping ahead of them, Zainab looked up at the night sky. The stars didn't look as distant anymore. She hadn't just survived betrayal. She had rebuilt herself from it. And now she was unstoppable. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.